Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another weekly dose of the rundown. Of course, joined in as always, my brother from another, my co-host all the way from the O, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing good this week. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. I don't know why I feel lively. Maybe it's because it's only a 4-day week for me, and then I got a 4-day weekend on top of that. But it's looking real It's looking real lively. Yeah, I'm bragging. I don't care. We had a lot going on this week, man. We had the Super Bowl. The halftime show was lovely. All you grandparents out there that was hating on the halftime show, talking about it wasn't all that. Y'all need to stop it. It was. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was the greatest halftime show of all time. I don't know if it touches the Prince halftime show. Even maybe the Michael Jackson one, but it's up there for me. It was a good one. But the game was good, and then we got the trade deadlines, man. We're gonna get into all that today.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed the halftime show. I don't know where I put it right now, but it was good. Good
I like
start.
it.
Good start in the right direction.
Yeah. It was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I was dancing in the living room and all that. Seeing people making a big deal that Snoop Dogg was getting getting lit like right before he went to go perform. Like that was supposed to be a shocker or something. But it is what it is, man. Let's get into this Super Bowl, man. It's been a long season. I think a lot of us, maybe when it happened, were like, wow, the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. But I feel like early on, we kind of thought that the Rams were going to get there. We didn't really talk about this in the championship recap and things, but we could bring it up now. I think we kind of felt like this low key, even self-consciously, they were supposed to be here the whole time. And if no one else says it, I want to be the one to say it. This is the first time, really, in NFL history, because I don't even feel like that with the Tampa Bay Bucks last year. I think this is the first time in NFL history that a super team went all the way. Because usually, the NFL is a lot different than the MLB and the NBA when it comes to putting all this talent together. It just doesn't work. But you were able to bring in Odell Beckham Jr., Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, and then you had Aaron Donald over there already. And they went all the way, man. 23-20, Rams defeat the Bengals. The Rams looked like they were going to blow the Bengals out. The Rams looked like they were going to blow the Bengals out early in this game. Matthew Stafford doing his thing, their run game. The one thing I will say is that their run game the entire game, which was shocking, and kudos to the Bengals front line on that one for stopping the run of the Rams. Their run game was going nowhere the entire game. But as far as making it an air game, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., even Van Jefferson were doing what they had to do. They had no answers for Odell Beckham. He goes out and scores the first touchdown. Cooper Kupp goes out and scores the second touchdown. They're supposed to go up 14-0. It was a 14-3. And then they ended up they held on to the ball. That's what it was. They held on to the ball. So they missed the extra point. So they're up 13-3. And then probably like the biggest thing that I think hurt all of us is seeing Odell go out after this phenomenal game that he's having. And really it changed the whole complexion of the game, at least on offense for the Rams after that. And when Odell immediately went down and you're looking at it, it was a non-contact injury. And I'm watching it. I told my girlfriend too, I'm like, he tore his ACL. And then what hurts even more is that's the same exact knee that he tore up the year prior against the Bengals. So, you're wondering what is this offense going to look like without him on the field, because it was a pick your poison kind of game. Who you going to double up, or who you really going to pay attention to the most, Cooper Kupp or Odell Beckham Jr.? So once Odell goes out the game, they had no answers for Odell. Once he goes out the game, all attention's on Cooper Kupp. And that second half comes around, boy, did the Rams fall apart. Did they fall apart. The Bengals end up early in the second half going up in the game. And then, it becomes a real game at that point. But to pretty much sum it up, they were able to get it done. Sean McVay was even in the questionable play calling that he was making, was able to rally the troops. Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, they got together and they doing what they was doing. Matthew Stafford made some incredible plays in this thing. I think the one we're all talking about most was the no look pass, but that is what it is. And shout out to Eli Apple, man. Shout out to Eli Apple. Eli applesauce. That's what they call him. The Apple Pack. I know the rate. Apparently Eli Apple is not that liked in the league because after that game was over, he was getting killed by a lot of NFL players. So I don't know if he just be talking a lot of mess, and because he can't back it up. So I don't know if this is his third team now. He's only been in the league 5-6 years. So I don't know what that deal is, but I'm a Giants fan. You were a failed first round pick, and you was talking a lot of mess, even though you're on your third team. What is what it is. I had to just get that out there, and I know I'm rambling, but anyway, back on point. They did they did the damn thing on offense, but what really was the saving grace of this Super Bowl was the Rams defense, specifically that front. Aaron Donald. There's a lot of rumors now about Aaron Donald possibly retiring because he's done everything that you could possibly do in this game at his position. In my opinion, him and Lawrence Taylor are 1A and 1B when it comes to the greatest football player, at least greatest defensive player of all time. I think he's in there as the greatest football player of all time with LT. And I love Cooper Kupp, but Aaron Donald should have won Super Bowl MVP.
I think Eli Apple was talking junk to the Chiefs after last week's win.
He did.
And I think that's the reason why a lot of people are on him. I could agree with that. With Aaron Donald getting Super Bowl MVP. I think it could really have went either way. You think Cooper Kupp, especially after Odell Beckham Jr. went down, he was kind of their guy, their go-to guy. And then, but I think Aaron Donald, when he started getting to the quarterback a little bit, especially after the Bengals made that little run in the first half, after he got that first sack, I think you can see how the game changed. I think after he got that first sack, no team scored for like at least 5 to 10 minutes from like the mid of the third to like towards the end of the fourth for a while. So I think once he started getting to the quarterback, especially in the second half, I think you can see how the Bengals kind of struggle some more. I'm pretty sure he got that game sealing sack. So I could agree. And what I said last week, I said if the Rams win this, it'll probably be someone on that defensive line that gets the Super Bowl MVP. I was saying Von Miller, but Aaron Donald, deservedly so, could have got it too.
He was hungry, man. And then the other thing too, in all sports, when you got that dude, if it's like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, even a Steph Curry, a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Jeter, whatever. When you got that dude, you never want to piss off that dude because then like all hell breaks loose. And I don't know what was going on over there. Oh, you know what it was? It was Burrow went out of the pocket and he just kind of shoved Burrow out. And the thing with offensive linemen and their quarterbacks is you don't mess with the quarterback. You don't mess with my quarterback or else it's going to be hell to pay. So they had a little skirmish and all that. I think one of the linemen kind of tried to mush AD and I think he just swung at him. I'll never understand why football players swing at other football players while their helmets are still on. But whatever. Once that happened, it was like a whole nother thing. Because like I said, Aaron Donald is elite. First ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever do it. He went like full scorched earth after that. Like there was it didn't matter what the Bengals were doing. It was over after that. So but just watching him play, he really saved the Super Bowl. Like literally. I mean, Matthew Stafford, and we're gonna get into Matthew Stafford too. Like he made, like we say, he made some amazing plays. Him and Cooper Kupp. Aaron Donald sealed the Super Bowl win, and it was like a perfect ending for them too because he's really been the face of this franchise.
Yeah, definitely. I think Von Miller deserves some credit too. If in that first half they were doubling Aaron Donald a lot, I think when Von Miller started getting to the quarterback a little bit too, I think that opened it up more for Aaron Donald. But like you said, after that little skirmish, and he, like I said, he got to that first sack on the quarterback. They both of them deserve credit. Because Von Miller deserves some credit too. So, but yeah, Aaron Donald was just a beast.
Yeah, but nah, Von Miller made some amazing plays too. Even he was actually the one that made the play when Burrow hurt his knee. And kudos to Burrow. You know, he did the damn thing too. I am worried in the future that he might become the next Andrew Luck, because really all season what we were talking about is that offensive line. We know how good he is as a quarterback. We know the weapons over there, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. You know, right now, you look at the Jamar Chase draft and you look at it as a win because of the talent that you have, number one, and then also what they were able to do together. But you got to get this kid protected, because if you don't, like, that has to be priority number one. Imagine if they were able to take Penei Sewell. You wouldn't have the Jamar Chase factor there. But if they took Penei Sewell, they might have still been able to make a run. He tied the record for most sacks in a Super Bowl. He was sacked 7 times. I think he's been sacked overall like 40 times or something like that in his postseason. So that has to be priority number one. You don't do what the Giants did, overloading on weapons. I hope nobody does that. It's not a recipe for success. Trust me. It's got to be protection at this point, because God help him if he doesn't have it. You do not want to see this dude become like a punching bag and then his career ends early because he's just dealing with too many injuries. He's too talented for that to happen. So they need to go all in on that. And they definitely need to make some adjustments on defense too, because I think the defensive game plan that the Bengals put out in the Super Bowl was another reason why they lost. Now, I want to get into Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, Richard Sherman came out and he made his comment. The big thing is Matthew Stafford a Hall of Famer? He's been in the league 13 years, 12 years with the Detroit Lions. We don't fault him for a lot of things, pretty much because you played for the Detroit Lions. Like, this is the franchise that ruined Barry Sanders. You ruined Megatron. 2 all-time great players, gold jacket players that never had no success because you're abysmal. You're the Detroit Lions. No disrespect. So, Matthew Stafford, you got to give him respect because he's this super talented quarterback, but he was with the Detroit Lions. Went to the playoffs 2 times, no playoff wins, 1 Pro Bowl, never been an All-Pro or anything like that, but he has the stats. He's got all the quarterback stats that you want. So the discussion is going in, is he a Hall of Famer if he wins it? So Richard Sherman comes out and brings up all these things that I brought up. He brings up how numbers are inflated because this is the biggest era for quarterbacks that we've ever seen, right? Excuse me. And then the other things, he's never been an All-Pro. He's only been to 1 Pro Bowl, no playoff wins. As far as like playoff wins, quarterback wins goes, guys, it's not a real stat. It's not. We just had this discussion with Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers' success has never been dependent on Jimmy Garoppolo. So we need to stop with this whole quarterback loss, quarterback win stat thing. I think a lot of reasons why Matthew Stafford doesn't have these other accolades that you say is why he should be in the Hall of Fame was because of where he played the last 12 years. How, great quarterbacks elevate teams, yes. And I think Matthew Stafford, so like the bar is like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, like that type of stuff, right? I think he's right under that tier. Like, he's not a good, like, I'm not going to say he's good. Like, I think he's great, but he's not like in that top tier with those guys. But based on everything that we're talking about here, because this is the whole reason why Sean McVay traded for him. The story last year was when they lost to the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. Sean McVay is looking at what Aaron Rodgers is doing, and he's like, I need a guy like that. Because if I have a guy like that, I can win a championship. So he went out and traded for Matthew Stafford. And I think that says a lot. And after the fact, they ended up winning a championship. So I think a lot of the lack of accolades that we talk about with him is really based on where the situation he was in. And in 1 year's time, traded into a great organization with the right pieces, he goes out and wins a championship. And he wasn't a passenger. He was a driver. So in my opinion, Matthew Stafford has solidified himself as a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we talked about this last week. Like, say if he came out there and played well, and he played well, I think that he solidified himself as a Hall of Famer, especially with Odell going back. I mean, going down. And you think about what him and Cooper Cup was able to do. So I think he definitely solidified himself now. Like you said, he probably wasn't in the greatest situations before, but the come down and he got that game winning score to come down the stretch and get that score and lead them to victory here, I think was big for him.
What are we thinking for next year? Dude, the Rams are not the favorites to win it. They're not favored to repeat. Right now, I think the Kansas City Chiefs might have the best odds and the Buffalo Bills have the second best odds. And if not, then it's flip-flopped. And then I think the Rams might have the third best odds, if that. If any of you guys watching know, please throw that in the comments for me. But I think if this team, if there's no retirements, because even we're hearing Sean McVay might walk away. If there's no retirements, if you get Odell Beckham back, remember Robert Woods got when they signed Odell, it was supposed to be Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., and Robert Woods. And then Robert Woods tore his ACL. Robert Woods is slated to come back. If you're able to bring back Odell and he can get back to playing like what we just saw, I'm not going to say they're going to repeat, but this is going to be scary because you got the quarterback, you got great weapons, you got really great offensive line play, and his defense is nothing to play with. Obviously, you got to re-sign Von Miller as well. I think that tandem of Von Miller and Aaron Donald is also a big thing too, which is what you've been harping on. I think sky's the limit for this team if you could bring everybody back.
I would agree. I think we got to see where what happens with Aaron Rodgers and where he decides to go. So we probably have to see, and probably after some free agent moves, and to really know what kind of what the landscape is going to look like. Because Aaron Rodgers can go somewhere right now and kind of change everything.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, when I really start to think about this Aaron Rodgers situation, you're in the NFC North, and you run it like you practically been winning the division every year. You played a game against the Chicago Bears where you ran in for a touchdown and started screaming, "I still own you." Like if you go to the AFC, because it was the Broncos, maybe the Colts, like they taking beatings over there. Like they not playing around. Why would you want to go deal with that? And then like now the new report is that the Packers are all in on him. Like they're willing to do whatever it takes to bring him back and keep him happy, which means going over the luxury tax to make it happen. We will give you the extension we want, pay you the money, and we'll get you whatever you want. Whether that means bringing back Devontae Adams, bringing in other receivers that you want, keeping people that you want, we'll do it. So with all that in mind, why would you leave?
Anything's possible. We don't know how happy he is over there, but uh, it's even if you say all that, I think that the history he has with them, can he really trust them? So they could say they're going to do all this for you. So you don't want to get maybe lock yourself into a long term deal and then maybe have to force your way out. So you still got to consider those things. They don't have the greatest history with those guys over there. Can you trust them? If you do you maybe sign a 1 year deal and stay on 1 year deals? And if they don't, they're not a man of their words. You just go move on somewhere else. So it's a trust thing over there with him, and I think that'd be the biggest issue and maybe one of the reasons why he want to leave.
I think if I'm him, I probably would do 1 year deals moving forward, kind of like what LeBron was doing when he was in Cleveland the second time around. But this past year was the first time he's actually spoken up. I feel like it would be a different story if he's voiced his opinions on things in the past and they were just kind of throwing the bird at him like forget you. But this is the first time he was vocal. He was vocal about things, and as soon as he spoke up, what they do? They brought back Randall Cobb, who was a guy that he mentioned when he went on that whole preseason speech in the press conference that he had. So I mean, yes, they need to be men of their words and things like that. They have to prove that now. Their actions have to match their words. But he's talked about how he feels like he's in a better place with them as the season went on. You got all these reports now. I feel like it's a good situation, and they've been competing. They're in it for. We talk about them being championship contenders every year, him and Matt LaFleur right now are having like legendary type success, even though they haven't been to the Super Bowl. So I don't know. Like I feel like I would run it back if I was him.
Tim's in the chat. He said he feels the same way as you. He doesn't think that he's going anywhere. He said he thinks Jimmy's going to the Steelers.
Jimmy Garoppolo, get ready, Tim. Jimmy Garoppolo is coming to our division. Jimmy Garoppolo will be a Washington commie, a Washington Commander.
He said Russ to Washington.
Russ ain't going to Washington. Right. Here's the. I want you guys to remember this. February 15th, 2022. This is what next season will look like. Russell Wilson will still be in Seattle. Jimmy Garoppolo will be a Washington commie. Deshaun Watson, if everything works out, will either be in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. And that's all you need to know right there.
And you think Aaron Rodgers is staying where he's at?
Aaron Rodgers, I believe, will be a Packer next year.
Okay. We'll see how it goes. So
the Colts. I could see Deshaun Watson going to the Colts too. But other than that, just remember that's what I said, and hit me up when it comes to fruition. Matter of fact, clip this because I want to be on TV when it does happen. You know, Mike has been making his waves on a couple people's channels. I'm trying to get like Mike.
Shout out to Mike. Meech said, first of all, wait till we get to the NBA segment because Meech has a lot he needs to say about the Sixers.
I feel like you have a lot you need to say because you were going hard before this trade happened, and like you were going even harder when we were texting after it happened.
I'm gonna have to issue out some apologies, but that's for later.
Hey, listen, let's get. I already know Meech is gonna have some takes in it. You know what? I might even agree with some of Meech's takes because I feel like I know where he's going with it. I think we all know where he's going with it.
He texted me as soon as the trade went down, and you could guess what he said.
He hit me up. He hit me up as soon as it went down. Because you know Doc made the top 15 greatest coaches of all time list. And I forgot what he hit me up about. And then I sent him the list. And I think he was like, so I gotta go pull it up. I think he's something that the people that made this list is smoking or like they crazy or something. But yeah, man, the trade deadline ended up. None of us thought that the trade deadline was gonna be anything. We all thought James Harden is standing pat, you know, this is gonna happen. Like the big three will go out, they'll work it out, they'll do what they gotta do. And we touched on some trades last week that ended up happening. So the biggest shocker, I guess not too much of a shocker because we had been hearing about it, and we're going to really deep dive into this because the pressers just came out today. A lot of stuff is happening today. James Harden goes from Brooklyn to the Philadelphia 76ers. The Brooklyn Nets in return receive Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, Ben Simmons, and wait for it, a first-round pick. Daryl Morey went from asking two first-round picks. Daryl Morey went from asking for multiple first-round picks for Ben Simmons to sending Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond away and giving away 2 first-round picks. That's how bad he wanted James Harden in there. We should have seen it on the wall because Doc was saying the day before the trade, we need to get a guard in here. They got their guard. Look, I've seen like Stephen A. Smith and some other people saying this was the worst day of Daryl Morey's career and all that. Look, here's the reality of this trade. To get this deal done, if Seth Curry was the reason that you didn't get this deal done, as great as Seth Curry is, you failed. I'm giving up Seth Curry to bring in James Harden. I'm sorry. And like James Harden is also the finesse god. We saw him in Houston. He got fat, and then as soon as he gets to Brooklyn, he's suddenly it was like he was wearing a fat suit, suddenly skinny again. This season, we start to see looking out of shape. He's getting hurt a lot. I'm looking at him in Philly now. He looks great. I seen a side to side picture of his first camp in Houston with where him and Philly right now. It ain't looking that different. So let's talk about this trade. I feel like it was a win-win for both teams. I think long term it's more of a win for Brooklyn because Ben Simmons is only 25 years old. Kyrie and KD are in their 30s. You have a perennial all-star, top-tier defender. He's still got to develop that shot. But I feel like he's in a more nurturing situation in Brooklyn than he ever was in Philly. I think, and I mean, Sean Marks. Look, I love Daryl Morey, and I like Elton Brand. I think Sean Marks is a better front office executive than both of them. As great as Daryl Morey is and the things that he's done, the things that Sean Marks has done in the last 5-6 years with Brooklyn, pre KD Kyrie, has been nothing short of amazing. I think as long as Sean Marks is heading that front office, they're in good hands. So long term, I think it works out for Brooklyn. If things shake out, I expect this to be the Eastern Conference Finals matchup, as long as they're on opposite sides. And I mean, Chicago's tough. Boston's starting to come on. You can never count out Miami. Toronto's even starting to look good. But these are my two favorites to come out or to battle to come out of the East. And on the Philly side, you look at the pairing of James Harden and Joel Embiid, and it's a match made in heaven, right? I can't think of players where their styles complement each other enough. As far as Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, and KD go, Ben Simmons just kind of fits in perfectly because he's not going to demand shots. He's like Matt. He reminds me so much of Magic Johnson. So, Kyrie's going to get his shot count back up. KD's going to get his shot count back up. And when you look at him, he's one of the best passers in the league, if not the best passer in the league. So he's going to get these guys probably the best open looks they've seen in years.
Yeah, definitely. He's gonna have to come in and kind of play that role that James Harden played last year, where it's kind of like running the point. The ball probably be in his hand a lot, but uh, yeah, more to what you said. I think Brooklyn wins the trade in the long run, and they might win a little bit now. Seth Curry was big last night for them. DeAndre Drummond was big. They were talking about how the Nets were kind of small in the center spot, so you get him, and then you get another shooter. I think when Joe Harris comes back, I think if Joe Harris ends up coming back this year, I think there'll be a problem. You'll have Joe Harris. You have basically KD, Kyrie, who are shooters themselves, and then you got Ben who would just be passing the ball. My only issue is when you come down in a 7-game playoff series. Obviously, like I said, you can put the ball in Ben's hand and let him run the point, but I see a lot of double teams off of Ben. So I think KD would get doubled a lot more than maybe he would have if James Harden was there. Kyrie may get doubled a lot more. So they'll have to figure that out. Maybe, like I said, putting the ball in his hand a little more where he's running the offense and you maybe can't double off him. But people will probably sag off. You can put him in a dunker spot. They'll have some stuff to figure out, but you basically have Ben Simmons and a whole bunch of shooters, which is what some people thought he needed around him in Philly. Obviously, KD and Kyrie are more than just shooters, but if you needed them to stay in the corner and shoot, they could. So you can kind of play a Ben Simmons running the offense with kind of just shooters all around him. And then KD and Kyrie, you give it to them when shot clock's low. You need them to run to get a bucket, or late in the game, you just give it to those guys. So if Ben Simmons can come back and be that number one pick we think he can be, it could be great for them. And like you said, he's only 25. If you look past this KD Kyrie era, Brooklyn's already in position because those guys are not going to be here for too much longer. Brooklyn's already in a better position than maybe Philly will be in a few years. Even though Embiid's young himself, but after James Harden leaves, it'll just be Embiid kind of by himself. And with his injuries and he's a big man, things like that, they'll have some other stuff to figure out. And then you get 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, they're not going to use those 2 first-round picks. Those 2 first rounds are just those 2 first-round picks are going to get flipped for another player.
They could possibly use that 2027 one. That's a long time from now. I would hold on. They have a 2022 one, which is going to be a late first-round pick. I would try to get rid of that maybe during the draft. But that 2027 one, if I can hold on, now it's going to bring me another player that's worth it. I may hold on to it, like I said, because by 2027, KD's probably be gone, Kyrie will be gone. You'll be starting that rebuild around Ben, and then James Harden will probably be gone too. Who knows where Philly would be? That could be a top pick.
But it could. We'll see. I just thinking of how Sean Marks is. He's more of an aggressive guy, and they're really in a win now type of mode. I kind of still see him like looking to get a running once those guys are out. And if that pick is still in factor, I look at him as a GM that's looking to get another running mate for his top player at that point. On the Philly side of things, I still like their foundation even outside of James Harden. Matisse Thybulle is still a top tier defender. I love Tyrese Maxey's game. I think he's only growing. You still got to Strong Island's own Tobias Harris over there. Obviously he's not perennial all-star type talent, but he's still top tier. He's nothing to play with over there. So I mean, I still think Philly will do what they got to do to bring someone else in once James Harden is out of there. But they were still able to be a playoff team when it was just Joel. I mean, obviously you had Seth and Drummond over there, but they were still mid-tier playoff team with Joel running things. So I think they'll still be all right. I guess what I really want to get into now is there's a lot of things being said since all this has come out. Me and you talked about it pre-show earlier. One of the rumors was like that James. We've heard all the stuff. James was like screaming to get out, not cool with Kyrie. Kyrie ruined everything. James came out today and said he did say that it played a factor, but he said it was minimal. And then I'm not gonna lie, I am with you a little bit on this smear campaign thing. With as far as stuff that's coming out from the Brooklyn side, there was a story James wanted to play more iso ball. KD and Nash wanted to play more like free ball, kind of like what he was doing in Golden State. And then like James would roll his eyes when certain plays were getting called. James was mad that they let Kyrie come back. Some of those stories I look at and I'm like, I don't know about all that. I will say this though. Even though I'm very iffy on the first story that I mentioned about the whole how he wanted to play, James Harden's entire career has been iso ball play, no matter who he's played with. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be spending some time on this. So when this story comes out about how he wants to play in Brooklyn, I'm looking at it like I still kind of feel like there's something there based on his own track record. So if this is how he's going, even though I'm saying that him and Embiid are like a match made in heaven, because Embiid's going to go down as one of the greatest big men of all time. He's not just this pick and roll guy. He reminds us all of Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. If he's still on this iso ball thing, which he probably will be, because I'm kind of with Meech on that when it comes to Doc as a coach. I don't think Doc's bowing down. I don't think Doc is going to like get at him with how he should be playing. I think Doc's just going to kind of run with what he has and not really think too much into it outside of that. They will not win a championship. James Harden will never win a championship in this league unless he changes the way that he plays. It's all, you can have all the stats, all the accolades in the world. Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul, when he was still alive, mentioned this. That style of play will never win a championship. He's always fell off in the playoffs. And that's another thing to look out for too. I love Doc. Truth be told, Doc has made a history for blowing it in the playoffs as a coach when it comes to leads. There's even a video clip when the Boston Celtics were playing the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals, where Phil Jackson is saying he's known for blowing it in the big games. So now you're pairing Doc Rivers with James Harden, who's also known for blowing it big time in the playoffs. It's kind of a recipe for disaster. That's all I'm saying.
Definitely sounds like a recipe for disaster. I mean, if they end up going up 3-1 on Brooklyn, I think Brooklyn have them right where they want them, knowing Doc Rivers. And I'm sure Meech would agree with that. But yeah, it does seem like a recipe for a disaster. Obviously, that's something they're gonna have to figure out. You think you hope Embiid can be that big of a difference maker if Harden's not being himself. But like you said, they still got shooters. They got Danny Green, a 3-time champ now, or 2-time champ. They got Danny Green. They got Tobias Harris. Thibault's gonna be playing playing defense. So honestly, it'll probably be more on Doc than anything. Obviously, James Harden making this trade, there's a lot of pressure on him to play at that level and lead them to a championship. But Doc has to be the guy to figure it out, even if James Harden isn't playing that well. Like you said, just with Embiid, they were, I guess, a mid of the pack playoff team. So there's been times in series where maybe your best player is not playing the best, or one of your best players is not playing the best, and you guys still find a way to get it done. So it's gonna come down on both of them. There's a lot of pressure on both of them, and you hope that they can figure it out. But I think it might be even split. There's a lot of pressure on both of them. It's gonna be even split. We'll see how it goes though.
I think this is the conversation that I really wanted to have. I don't think there's ever been more pressure on James Harden in his entire career than there is right now. You forced your way out of Houston. And he tried to say today that Philly was his first choice when he was getting out of Houston, not Brooklyn. That's bull. We have clips of you saying that it was a no-brainer for you to come to Brooklyn and that's where you wanted to be. Not only that, but there's extensive reporting that Tillman Fertitta came to you and said, we have 2 deals on the table. Philly's here, Brooklyn's here. This is what Philly's giving us. This is what Brooklyn's giving us. And a lot of Houston media today is calling James Harden out on this stuff too. The tape is out there, so stop lying. James Harden forced his way out of Houston to go in the situation in Brooklyn, and it's sad it didn't work out because we saw at the height of it, it was scary. Those 3 together was scary, and then even Zach Lowe today said that talking to executives, they're breathing a sigh of relief that it didn't work out. And it only had 16 games together at that. Now, he forces his way out of Brooklyn after 1 season to go into Philly. It's a winning situation. It's pressure because you forced your way out twice. You got to win. Let me tell you why else is pressure, though. I think I'm the only person saying this. I see Stephen A. going at Russell Westbrook too much in an unfair way, and I feel like you could back me up on this as far as look at all these people you played with. How could you not win a championship? You played with KD. You played with KD and James Harden. You played with Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, Bradley Beal. Played with James Harden again. Now you're in LA. I'm sorry. I love Russ, and I've always rooted for him to win a championship. I think his best shot at realistically, when you talk about the landscape of the NBA, realistically, his last best shot to win an NBA championship was 2016 when they blew the 3-1 lead against the Warriors. I don't care who he was running with, how great he is. Russell Westbrook with Paul George was never beating the Golden State Warriors with KD, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. I don't know if you were beating the Toronto Raptors. I don't think you were beating the Cavs at that time. I don't know if you were beating the Houston Rockets at that time. Let's be realistic here. I don't know where this hate comes from and stuff like this. Now, let me go to James Harden, another guy that's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. James Harden went to the NBA Finals with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. Things didn't work out, goes to Houston. Takes the Houston Rockets with a bunch of role players to the Western Conference Finals. You look at that and you say, man, that's impressive. What happens? He goes out and they go out and get him a running mate in Dwight Howard, a big that we're looking at that in today's day and age, and we're saying that's not nothing big as Dwight Howard. But at the time, James Harden playing with Dwight Howard was a big deal. They went back to a Western Conference Finals together. Didn't get it done. Then you played with Chris Paul, who right now is the best point guard in the world. Even at age 36 is the best point guard hands down in the world. The definition of a point guard, he's the best. There's no argument. A big reason why Phoenix is doing what they're doing right now might go back to the NBA Finals because of that. Couldn't get it done. Started arguing with Chris. Oh man, started arguing with Chris Paul to the point that you want him out of there. You want to play with Russell Westbrook again. That's your friend. That's your man's. Bring in Russell Westbrook, another Hall of Fame talent. What, second round exit? Now then things start to break up and whatnot. You get out of there. You go to Brooklyn. You're playing with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. You got a great team around you. Even with Kyrie Irving not playing, you still should have been able to get to the NBA Finals. Didn't get it done. Now you're playing with a guy that we just talked about is going to go down as one of the best big men of all time. If you don't get it done, there should already be heavy criticism on him not winning a championship based on the talent that's been around him and the coaching that he's had. I don't care who they go against. I think if you don't get it done, there has to be heavy criticism based on everything I just said.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's gonna be worse for him if one he loses to the Brooklyn Nets. If they go in the playoff, end up losing to the Brooklyn Nets, then it's gonna be a lot of criticism towards him, more than what you're saying right now. If they go to the playoffs, they lose to the Brooklyn Nets, and then the Nets win the championship, that's gonna be even worse. If he goes to the playoffs and loses, and the Nets win the championship, that's gonna be worse. So there's gonna be criticism on him if any one of those three things happen. I think if they lose in general, because it's gonna be. Here's the thing, though. If they lose, say they lose to the Bucks in a conference final. Say the Bucks make it to the conference final, they lose to the Bucks in the conference final. He'll have some criticism, but I think it won't be that crazy because they came together mid-season. So next year, if they end up losing it, then I think that's when more pressure, more criticism start coming towards him. He's gonna get some this year if they lose, but you can chop it up to they got together halfway through the season. He probably wasn't in shape before, different things like they got to figure each other out. They didn't have that much time. They're together for a whole year after that. If they lose next year, I think that's when it'll really hit. But if any of those three things happen, I said before, he's gonna get a lot this year. He still may get some this year from certain people, but I think you can chop it up today and have enough time together this year. It was a mid-season trade.
I hear what you're saying. And to some degree, I agree with what you're saying. If the Philadelphia 76ers lose they're the defending NBA champions. Giannis, some people would say Giannis is the best player in the league right now. I wouldn't say that, but some people would. They got a great tandem over there. They got a great coach. If the Philadelphia 76ers lose to the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs, it is a failure. It is an absolute failure. With James Harden, I don't even care about the midseason acquisition. I got ammo for you. With James Harden and Joel Embiid, nah. Look, his old team, the Houston Rockets, midseason, traded for Clyde Drexler when they were struggling. Won an NBA championship that same season. The bad boy Pistons. Same situation. Very similar to Philly. Philly had their struggles before this trade. Bad boy Pistons back in their last championship season. Or maybe it was their first championship season. I'm not sure. Yeah, it was their first. Struggling a little bit. Trade Adrian Dantley to the Dallas Mavericks for Mark Aguirre. Go out and win a championship. You got to win a championship this year, man. I'm sorry. It is, especially if they lose to a team like the Milwaukee Bucks. The criticism is well deserved. That's a failure to me.
You got to put some more credit on the Bucks name. This Bucks core has been together for a while now. They're the reigning NBA champions. They're playing a lot better basketball right now. I don't think going out to the Bucks would be that bad. Maybe, obviously, you can't go out in the first round. There's no excuse for the first round. But the Bucks may be in the second round, 7-game series, or the conference finals. I like that is like, I think that's understandable.
Some some people would say that there's not that there's an asterisk, because I don't agree with that talk at all about the asterisk being on certain championship teams. But some people kind of look at the Bucks championship last year like there was some luck involved there.
Yeah, you could say that about the Warriors' first championship. There was a lot of luck in there.
You can say about a lot of teams.
Yeah.
But
So
if we are full power teams in here, like if Philly is on full throttle, got everybody healthy and everything. Now I don't think there's any reason you should lose to this Bucks team. Sorry.
I can see them losing to them.
All right,
I can
when's the next time that those
because
teams? Well,
it
he's
was,
not going to be back to like after All Star break.
obviously James Harden has to play well. He cannot play well. Like they can't put Drew Holiday on him, and he has a
But that's
terrible
also a
series.
thing too. That's what I mean about his playoff struggles. It's been him just kind of dying down in the playoffs.
Yeah. Obviously he has to play well, but they could play well and still lose to the Bucks. But a full series with Drew Holiday on him, could be pretty tough. I can see the Bucks matching up pretty well. Obviously, the Bucks have to try to stop Embiid, who might be a problem for them. So, but I could see the Bucks giving them some problems. You got I mean, Thibault might be on Chris Middleton, which could give Middleton some problems. It really that series to me would come down to who plays better at Embiid and Giannis, and that'd be the difference, honestly. Because
That's a matchup. That is a
because
matchup.
Harden would have the other team's best defender on him, Drew Holiday. I can see him struggling. And then Middleton will have Thibault on him, and I can see him struggling. So it would come down to the two bigs, because I don't think neither team has anyone to guard either one of those guys. So it would come down to the
I mean, if
bigs.
you want to throw, if you want to throw them on each other, but with that being said, like,
It's foul trouble. You can't force one of them to get into foul trouble.
well,
I
I don't
mean,
even know as great as Embiid is, can he keep up? Wait, I gotta go back and watch a lot of their old games. Can he really keep up with Giannis?
probably. I mean, in foot speed, probably not. But who knows how if he'll be able to recover, maybe block some shots. But it's foul trouble. You don't want one of those guys getting into foul trouble. I mean, the Philly can throw a wrench in this plan and say that we'll put Thibault on Giannis
I
and
probably
force
you want to know something? If I'm Philly, I probably would throw Thibault on Giannis.
and then force Chris Middleton to beat you. And if Chris Middleton beats you, you shake his hand and say you guys got us. But
Listen, Chris Middleton is a champion, sir.
right, you
Put some
guys.
respect.
Mike is not here, but we had this conversation last year, and I told y'all that Ja was better than Middleton. Are y'all ready to apologize or change your opinion? Because I was gonna, you know what? I was gonna bring that. I was gonna take that Instagram post and put it on my story, but I didn't want to put y'all out there like that.
Listen, Ja's great. He's not a champion. Chris Middleton is a champion.
That's
Chris
not what we're
Middleton.
asking. It's not. It's not. It's
Chris
not the
Middleton.
term.
Chris
That's
Middleton
not
came up big. Chris
that's
Middleton came up big when they needed him to for that championship too. Just saying.
that
Just
that
saying.
that that is good. There's a lot of Robert Ory came up real big for people. Uh, that's not what we're talking about.
Hey man, I love Chris Middleton.
Y'all told me y'all rather have Chris Middleton on a team by himself than have Ja on a team by
Did I
himself.
say that?
Yes, you
I said
did.
that. Maybe I said right now. Man, I might have said right now, like in that moment. I don't know. I don't know if I'm feeling
That was
that
a
way.
few months ago.
I don't know. Well, that was. I think the season was over when I said that. I definitely don't feel that way right now. But Chris Middleton is the man, though. NBA champ, definitely a great running mate. Great number two.
Well, we'll find out if they end up playing Philly because I actually think now Thibault will probably be better on Giannis, and then your man Chris Middleton's gonna have to show us something.
Yo, why did Chris Middleton hate, man? I'm just saying. Like, I just feel like you guys don't give my man just proper respect. Chris Middleton might go to the Hall of Fame based on his resume when it's all said and done, especially after y'all had the blasphemy of trying to say Kyle Lowry's going to the Hall of Fame.
I said Kyle Lowry. I never said Kyle Lowry's going to the Hall of
I think you played devil's ad. I don't think you believe it, but I feel like you were playing devil's advocate that day.
Fame. What if I gotta refresh my memory on that. Anyways, yeah, I don't hate on Chris Middleton, but I mean, if the Bucks end up getting another championship or so, maybe.
Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. I don't really got anything else on this specific trade. I don't know if you wanted to add to it.
No, that's it for me.
I think another one that really was a little shocking to me, shocking to us, was Dallas sending Porzingis to Washington for Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans. I know on the Washington end of things, Spencer Dinwiddie, from all reports, was not liked in that locker room very much. So it makes sense to move on from him because of that. And then Bertans is a big contract that you just needed to get off of. He hasn't been playing well since you paid him that money. Porzingis, I mean, maybe a year ago it would have made sense to me. This year, I felt like him and Luka were kind of getting back to what we saw when they first got together. And then also, still, I feel like the points that you've made about Luka Doncic really hold true. So, I mean, the injuries are there, right? He does get hurt. But the Dallas Mavericks came up when they made this trade, came out and said, we don't want to make the same mistake that we made with Dirk and Steve Nash a bunch of years back. And then here we are now in 2022, and you did the exact same thing. Yes, like the injuries are there and everything, but when this guy's available, like he's a problem. Like I think this might be a move that gets Bradley Beal to re-sign. Maybe not long term. He might do like a 1 year deal. I don't know. But like that, I think Washington is gonna be I'm not calling them championship contenders, but they're gonna be threatening in the Eastern Conference if he can stay on the court and you pair him up with Bradley Beal. Of course, you got to make some other moves too, but
Yeah, definitely. I thought Spencer Dinwiddie was gonna work real well over there in Washington. Obviously, it didn't work out, so they moved on. I think it's good for both teams. Dallas wanted to get off that Porzingis money, so they got off of that, and then you bring in two shooters. Bartons doesn't play no defense, but he's a hell of a shooter, and especially Dinwiddie in the right place. We seen what he was able to do. So now you got Luca and a whole bunch of shooters. So you see how far you can that can take you. It's back to James Harden in Houston. Harden with a whole bunch of shooters, and now it's just Luca, a whole bunch of shooters, and you see how far that would take you. For Washington, you take the risk because you need to get maybe another superstar over there next to Bradley Beal. Uh, I think he's out for the rest of the season, but hopefully this gets
yeah,
him
he's done.
re-signed. And Porzingis, obviously with him, he has to stay healthy. Can he get on the court? If he can get on the court, he's back in the Eastern Conference. Can he turn back into that player that was with the Knicks? He'll get a lot more touches probably over there in Washington. Bradley Beal not as ball dominant as Luca is, so you'll have a point guard probably. They'll have to get a point guard, a real good point guard who's going to run the offense. Get those guys involved, and you think about you maybe get him back happy, get him back in the Eastern Conference playing like he was with the Knicks, and then get him back healthy and playing great defense. So I like it for both sides.
Yeah. Um. I mean, in the end, I like it for both sides, especially if they can kind of get Bertans to be back to what he was before Washington can paid him that money. Then that is a really big deal.
I think
I
over there
just
playing with Luca, he'll get a lot more open shots. I think Washington there
well
wasn't as
he'll get a lot more open shots once Luka's not open. You know,
I'm confused.
just like to go play onto your point, like Luka's not passing the ball unless like he absolutely
Oh,
has to.
yeah, but he draws so much attention that he should get some more shots. People probably double off of Bortons. Maybe I don't know. He'll get more shots playing with Luca. Washington, who knows what's going on over
I
there?
actually like the situation for Porzingis in Washington. You're playing Bradley. I wouldn't call, even though Bradley Beal's like a great shooter and everything, I wouldn't call him like a selfish player or anything like that. I definitely think Porzingis is going to get his touches exactly where he needs to. Like it could be something fun to watch. They've been a fun team. Like I've liked what I've seen, like what I've seen from them, even though they haven't been winning much.
Yeah, you gotta get a point guard to go over there and run the show. Bradley Beal, like I said, is not as ball dominant. He's not the point guard. He's not really gonna try to be the point guard. So he's looking to score and get a bucket when he gets his touches. But if you get a point guard over there to make sure that's gonna be like a pass first point guard, then both of them should get their touches. Luca was a real ball dominant, and he was the point guard, so it was kind of it was harder for Porzingis over there, maybe.
Bring back John Wall. Finish what you started.
If he'll take the contract buyout.
Yeah, we'll see. That was more of a joke. We know that's not happening. uh, Marvin Bagley got sent over to Detroit. I don't even remember what Detroit sent back to Sacramento. Sacramento's a mess. I like this. I like this for Marvin Bagley. I like this for Detroit. Marvin Bagley, despite what a lot of things that came out with him in Sacramento, or like some of what you've seen on the surface, he's quietly put up good numbers. I feel like he needed to get out of Sacramento. I mean, him and his family were kind of screaming it too. I feel like he's in a great situation. I think Dwayne Casey's we've seen what he did in Toronto. He's a great culture builder. He's in that situation now where he's going to kind of build this up. They're in the rebuild mode. They're going to have another lottery pick this year. You got Cade Cunningham, who I believe will win Rookie of the Year when it's all said and done. You got good pieces over there. Cade Cunningham's not a selfish player either. He's another guy that really like defines what you want out of your point guard. So I don't know, man. I think they're quietly building themselves a little bit of a core, and Marvin Bagley can revitalize his career over there.
Yeah, definitely. I like it for Marvin Bagley. Obviously, things wasn't working out for the Kings, and no one knows what's really going on with the Kings. They had talent, but it doesn't seem to manifest over there. So for him to get out of there, I think it's great for him. And then Troy Weaver, we talked about him on here a lot of times. He seems like he's getting young talented players, and we know how he is when it comes to finding talent. So I think getting Marvin Bagley over there, they'll get him back in the right track, and I like it for him. He's over there with more young guys; they can all grow together. And like I said, Troy Reaver knows talent, so if he sees something in him, there has to be something there. And Marvin Bagley was a top 2 pick, played well at Duke, so it you can chop up a lot of things that happened over there in Sacramento to maybe they're just not the greatest franchise, especially with developing players.
100%. 100%. Now, I don't know if we got these people in the building. It's been a really long time since we talked about y'all. We are the New York Knicks. 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 Go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Man, it's been a minute. I love you. You remember the Michael Jackson gif? I love this song. Like that's how I feel every time I play that. Oh, so the Knicks didn't do anything. The Knicks didn't do anything in the trade deadline, much like the Lakers. We'll also get into the Lakers before we wrap this show up. They got the same core that they've had in this long season that's been very up and down for them. At one point, we heard everybody was available except RJ Barrett. Then at another point, we heard everybody was available. It's a fire sale. No biters, nothing. There was rumors about a Cam Reddish, a 3-team deal that would have sent Cam Reddish to the Lakers, which is something the Lakers desperately needed. That did not come to fruition. And now we're just here wondering what is going to happen with the Knicks. So I forget what team they were playing. Oh, it was the Denver Nuggets. And they ended up in a blowout. They were getting blown out, but in typical Tom Thibodeau fashion, he kept the starters out there and playing meaningless basketball. Arguably your best player, RJ Barrett, sprains his ankle and he's been out ever since. Useless basketball. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg there, I feel like, for Tibbs. We've heard a lot of things. We heard that he didn't even want to trade for Cam Reddish. He did not want Cam Reddish on his team. So now we're here. Now it's like your head coach and your front office aren't even in lockstep. It seems like, I'm not going to lie, some people might get mad at me for saying this. What I'm seeing from the New York, and it's wild because you're coming off a playoff appearance. Like, you were one of the hottest teams because you're a New York team on top of what you were able to do last year. You're one of the hottest teams in the league. And now, like, the New York Knicks kind of look like the New York Giants under Dave Gettleman. It's like you're just making a bunch of moves just to make them. Like, you don't even have a plan. Because they got this kid Grimes, right? who's this? He's this young wing that like they just drafted him, and he's deserving of minutes. Like Tibbs likes him a lot. He plays really good defense. He's starting to show things. And the whole thing when they traded for Cam Reddish, just like, where does he fit in here? Because there's only enough minutes to go around between Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. Those are your starting five. Then you got Emmanuel Quickly. You got the kid Grimes that I just mentioned. Who else? You got Nerlens Noel, even though he's another guy that's starting to look like a bad contract for them. There's so many minutes to go around. Like, it's just like, how are they fitting in here? So I'm looking at this now and I'm wondering, like, what happens now? Because things are starting to look bad again. Like, we went from saying the Knicks were back to, man, I regret saying that. Because I don't know. Like, is Tibbs on the hot seat? Because Tibbs is like, this is exactly, man, you know what? I'm not mad that we said what we said when he got hired. People tried to come at us after we said that. Like, I don't know if he should take the Knicks job. That's not a team that's really like, he needs like a vet team that's ready to win now, not that. And here we are, and they're in trouble. Like, Tibbs is still the same coach that he's always been. He's not making the in-game adjustments. He's not putting out the greatest rotations and things like that. He's very stubborn when it comes to exactly what he wants to do. So should he be on the hot seat? And with that being said, while I ask you that, we're back to the dysfunction. Another coach fired. In how many years, if it happens? Another front office man fired if it happens. Like, what's going on?
I think he should be on the hot seat. It's probably a great question for Knicks fans and stuff. But I think maybe he should be on the hot seat, but it might be.
I'm sorry to cut you off because I just seen Meech's comment. The ironic thing of Meech's comment is that he was Doc's assistant in Boston. Like, they won that championship together. So my bad. Carry on.
He should be on the hot seat. But I think they'll probably play it out. You chop it up. You had one good year, one bad year, and then I think you see how next year goes. You let this season play out how it's going to play out. They didn't make no trades at the deadline. Let it play out. Hit the drawing board again come this summer. Maybe they can get on page it a little more. Like you said, it seems like they're not on the same page. And then you see how next season goes. And if anything, maybe, I guess it's hard to fire someone midway through the season. But you see how next season goes. You had one good season. This season's not going as great. We'll see how next season goes. You hit the drawing board, try and make some different moves. Kemba hasn't worked out the way that maybe they planned it and things like that. So hit the drawing board again and see how it goes.
They not, man. Look, they not you. I'm full like step with what Kenny Smith said about that whole thing. They're not using Kemba correctly, like, because Kemba's still out here, even though it's not every night. He's still giving you amazing performances, like from time to time. You know, like he even had that stretch after he came from off the benching where he, was wilding. So that's what like I hate about it too, because I feel bad because I know even though he's not the same player he was in Charlotte. He can still give you good numbers every night. Like Kemba could be vital for a championship team. So like that sucks. But let's just like, it's more toxicity if they like. I feel like they can't even afford at this point to move on from the people that they have over there. I wasn't keen on Leon Rose getting that job. All they did was copy what the Lakers were doing. I wasn't keen on them putting in World Wide West in there. I wasn't keen on Tibbs getting the job. Like I said, I just, man, they're a mess. It's toxic. Like, it's really just toxicity, especially if they move on from this group because it's like you're doing it again. You're doing it. You know what the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again, thinking that you're gonna get different results.
They'll like I said, they gotta hit the drawing board again. Randall probably hasn't played as well as he played last year. After
Julius Randle should not be a New York Knick moving forward. Like he fooled y'all. He fooled all of us. Like he's a good player, but he's back. He's another one. He's back to being the same guy he was the first year with the Knicks.
Yeah. So like I said, hit the drawing board. They have to try some different things out. I think Julius Randle not playing as well has hurt them, and like I said, a couple of pieces not working out the way that they thought it would. So I think I just have to hit the drawing board, and I probably wouldn't fire him right now. See how next season goes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm indifferent about it because like I'm seeing like play the youth, play the youth. Yes, I do think they should play the youth, but you can't just like your vets are still there. You can't just bench the vets. You know what I mean? Like they're in a real like it's a bad situation overall because of all the optics that are there.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, this season's kind of a wash. I mean, you still try to play for the play in. Probably end up losing in the first round anyway, or losing in the play in. So, like I said, they got to go back to the drawing board, see what they're gonna do about Randall, see what they're gonna do about Kemba, or if they can get those guys back, kind of how they were last year. You get D Rose back. So I think I seen someone say it's like the problem is last year Tibbs had guys. Tibbs had his guys last year. You kind of got rid of his guys and brought in guys that you thought would fit, and it hasn't worked out. So it might be a thing where you have to get rid of Tibbs, or unfortunately, you got to bring back in Tibbs guys.
Well,
Tibbs usually wins with his guys.
who'd they get rid of?
Well, I guess D Rose is hurt. Are they playing Taj Gibson? He's still there.
Taj Gibson wasn't even really playing much last year. Like he was getting in like when like it's kind of like all right, we have to put you in because so and so can't play right now.
I thought he's playing. I thought he's playing in
Ty,
the playoffs.
he's played, but he hasn't played. Like Taj Gibson to the Knicks right now is kind of like when Rasheed
Oh,
Wallace was with the Knicks. Like you remember when Mike Woodson was the head coach, they got that clip and he's like, Rasheed, you want to play, son? You want to play? Like that's kind of what like Tibbs probably hit like Taj Gibson with that from time to time. Like, yo, Taj trying to go get some run real quick.
well, like I said, D Rose is hurt. You get rid of Alfred Payton, who he liked a lot, and you bring in Kemba, and then you get rid of what's the guy's name is and Bullock. You get rid of Bullock, was another guy that he liked a lot. So two,
You
three and
had
D
to, you
guys.
had to move on. You kind of had to move on from Peyton because the only thing Peyton was giving you was defense. Like Peyton was also a detriment to that team why they didn't go far.
And what does Tibbs care about? Defense. So
That is true.
he kind of got rid of his defensive guys, try to bring in some offensive guys, and he's not feeling it.
The Knicks really messed up when they couldn't get Lonzo Ball over there. I thought Lonzo Ball was like the literally the piece that they needed.
Uh, yeah, probably. I don't know how hard they went after him, but it is what it is at this point.
Again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results every time.
The season's over in New York. See y'all next year.
Sorry. Well, it ain't over in New York, Brooklyn. So Brooklyn. I know y'all hate to see that, but Brooklyn, that might be a parade over in New York, but it ain't gonna be the Knicks. Anyway, another team that stood pat was the Los Angeles Lakers, and they've been clamoring get Russell Westbrook out of here. We kind of trying to set y'all straight on this whole thing. Not saying that Russell Westbrook isn't a problem for the Lakers. He's a problem. I wouldn't say he's the problem. I think the Lakers front office did a horrendous job of putting this team together this season. It was completely bad roster management overall. And now they're just trying to scapegoat everybody. And you also got Frank Vogel, who very much like we just kind of talked about Tibbs being stuck in certain ways and stubborn and things, is he's stuck in running two big man sets and things like that. Just not smart decision making. We're even starting to see things kind of unfold a little bit. Like Russell Westbrook, unfortunately, is starting to crack a little bit. He's called out Vogel without actually calling him out by name, which is scary in a sense because I don't want to. It shows you that Russ is not willing to take the steps back needed for this team to be successful. But in a sense, he's also not wrong. But just certain things that you shouldn't be doing. So, this is kind of Allen Iverson reminiscent, which I know you pointed out to me, which again, it would be sad to see him go out that way. I do not, as much as I love Russell Westbrook, I would not want to see that happen. But I mean, you're looking at it like, wow. And then the Cam Reddish thing happened. They really needed that to fall through, couldn't get it to fall through before the deadline. So that hurts. But then also, I want to get back to a point that we keep harping on. is the whole second half of the season thing, especially when it comes to Russ. And I don't have to dig into it again because I've said it. Like I think the last 2 weeks on the show, I feel like we got to watch out for that. They had a game against the Golden State Warriors on Saturday. They came back big, and I thought that was a positive sign for them. I guess I want to know your take on everything. I feel like even though they didn't make moves, maybe they might be able to rally for something.
Yeah, I kind of agree with basically everything you said. Like you've been saying, Russ is a problem because he has not played well, but he's not the problem. They're terrible at defenses. Was supposed to be Frank Vogel's key thing that he does. AD's not shooting well from three. I think he's shooting like 16% from three. Taylor Horner Jr. is coming along now, but he wasn't shooting that well from three. So, and I think like you said, Vogel is kind of stuck in his ways of winning the way that he thinks it is, and his team is not a typical Frank Vogel type of team. If you know how he likes to play, so they have some things they need to figure out. Obviously, after the trade deadline, you can think, okay, maybe the pressure or the monkeys off a couple of people's back, and you can kind of just go out there and play. And that's kind of what it seems like they did that last game against the Warriors. I think that's the best game that they put together all season. I think they just got Clayed. Clay goes off in the fourth quarter like it was a game six. So it's not much you can do about that. Brown misses free throws, but that's kind of what you expected when he went from the line, when he went to the line. So obviously you're supposed to make your free throws. You got to knock him for it, but he is who he has shown us to be. And when he went to the line, you kind of knew he was probably gonna miss one.
Yeah,
So
that would have tied the game, right?
there's other things. I think their offense down the stretch kind of faded. Whatever, they should have played better defense. You hope going forward though, like I said, trade deadlines passed. You hope some people got that monkey off their back and they play better. I don't know what happened in that last game, but if they can get that same kind of production and put Russ in those same type of positions going forward, I think they can make something out of what's going on. Obviously, even if AD's not shooting three, he has to play a little better than he played last game. But if they can get the same energy, consistency from everybody, kind of top to bottom, and have AD play a little better, I think they can make something.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Hopefully, they can kind of look at that game specifically and just like make those adjustments. Like, all right, here's a recipe for success. But I don't know. I'm starting to even. It's a situation where, because I was about to say I'm starting to think maybe Frank Vogel, they need to get another coach in there outside of Frank Vogel, but it's an overall thing. Like the front office really messed up on this thing. They did not do a good job of putting this roster together. So that's that. Did want to touch up on one thing. You mentioned LeBron. LeBron passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the NBA's all-time leading points scorer combined play regular season and playoffs. He did it in fewer shot attempts and less amount of time played. This is a huge deal. Eventually he'll overtake Kareem, I believe, in just overall points scored in the regular season as well, and then in playoffs as well. I mean, I think I saw Kareem when he set the record was only averaging like 11 points a game. So LeBron's having a freakish year. Was he averaging 30 still, or did it die down a little bit?
I think it's like 29.
I mean, it's still insane. Was he 35, 34, turning 35? Maybe 36.
No, I think he's 36.
I mean, that's insanity. That's insanity.
It's a big 37. Because remember that video is like, I'm 36, and his birthday was in December. He might just turn 37 if I'm tweaking.
37. 37 years old, averaging 29 points per game. It's a monster season. I already said he should win MVP. Don't know if he'll win it, but he should win MVP. Look, it's just funny that he accomplished this, because the biggest knock on him is he's not a scorer yet. He broke a record that, honestly, if you look at it, if you really look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record, that's a record that should be looked at as something that you'd be like, I don't think anybody's ever going to break this. So, number one, he breaks something that should be looked at as an unbreakable record. and he did it with the knock being he's not a scorer.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Shout out to him, longevity, being able to play this long, play this well. I think a lot of people said it. He has maybe one of the longest primes ever. So shout out to LeBron getting this. I think KD, if he didn't have those couple seasons where he broke his foot, missed the whole season, the Achilles, I think he's someone you think probably could have broke those records. But like you said, LeBron wasn't looked at as like a scorer like that. So for him to do it, big shout out to him. Like you said, I think it's big. We've seen now for a while that he was coming for that regular season one. It's impressive that he did it in less time, less shots, and things like that. So, big shout out to Braun. Facts. That's all I gotta say about that. Big shout
Yeah,
out.
look, I'm seeing you. You said it. I see Meech is saying it. Longevity is definitely a factor, but the whole reason it was a record to begin with is because longevity was a factor when the record was set. You know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played for a long time. He played into the '90s. He was a player that got drafted in the early '70s. He won his first championship in the early '70s, didn't he, with the Milwaukee Bucks? Like that was, from when you're in, you're in your prime in the '70s and you set that record in the '90s. Like, I mean, that's a big deal. But I think the biggest thing with this, yes, it's longevity, but the biggest thing with it is he did it in less amount of time on fewer shots.
Yeah, like I
Really,
said, he the longest prime probably that we seen. So longevity, but it's more of a how long his prime was, or how long
for
he
sure,
was able to play at a high level like that.
for sure. Guys, always send in those questions if you want to send them in. We got one right now from my man Barks. What up, Barks? It's been a minute. Um, Best team in the East right now. So not by record or where they're at, but based on what we see them, what they have right now. We kind of got a glimpse of it yesterday. The best team in the East, in my opinion, is the Brooklyn Nets.
A best team in the East, in my opinion, is the Milwaukee Bucks.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
We don't know what Philly is right now. We know what they could be. We don't know what Brooklyn is right now. We know what they could be. I would say the Heat can maybe be 1B. The Bucks have been playing really well. They're starting to come together. If I had to pick, it'd be the Bucks right now. Just because we don't know. Obviously, everyone healthy and everything works out the way that we think. It's Brooklyn. But right now, if you asking me, I think the Bucks are playing the best basketball in the Eastern Conference. And like I said, the Heat. I see Meech saying the Heat can be 1A, 1B. It could be. It's those two right now. The other teams, we know what they could be, or we hope what they could be, but we don't know. So best team right now it's those two teams.
If we're literally dealing it right now, I'm with y'all 100%. I mean, I grew up a fan of the Miami Heat, so I'm all for that. They're also playing some fantastic basketball and great coaching. Like Eric Spoelstra was also on that top 15 greatest of all time coaches, deservedly so. Um, but I just feel like I guess I didn't take the question like as literal. I'm just going based off of like what they have and what we kind of expect that to become.
Right, right. Like I said, if everything works out, if everything works out, maybe Philly. I don't know. If everything works out, I don't know who's the best team. Philly, because if James Harden is going to be James Harden,
That's a problem, Kay. James Harden's gonna be James Harden, and it's the playoffs.
they got the Thibault. I think Thibault's going to be big on the defensive end. Eh, it's probably Brooklyn. Brooklyn probably has the more talent if Kyrie's going to be able to play
Brooklyn
like that.
literally has the most talent. You look at this five. Kyrie Irving, number one overall pick. Ben Simmons, number one overall pick. Kevin Durant, number two overall pick. A man that's been lost in the shuffle, Blake Griffin, number one overall pick. LaMarcus Aldridge, number two overall pick. Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen that.
Uh, as impressive as those numbers look, Blake is not that number one pick no more. Aldridge is still playing pretty well. Blake's not. Blake's playing like a late first round pick at this point. So at that point, that's just a number.
All right, man. Moving on, moving on. Last thing here. I didn't even have this on the docket, but I saw it today, and I feel like I had to bring it up. So like, man, I wish my man Stat was in here. Because he backed me up on this. I feel like I'm gonna be alone on this one. So like for the longest time, head to head, I'm like Kyrie Irving's better than Steph. Because every time we see him head to head, Kyrie Irving just puts it on Steph. Like he embarrasses him, right? In the biggest moments, he comes up against Steph. Steph always comes up short against Kyrie. So yesterday, the Clippers played the Golden State Warriors, and I'm looking at this coaching matchup: Ty Lue versus Steve Kerr. And believe it or not, even though they faced off in the finals, Ty Lue wasn't the head coach in 2015. So 16, 17, and 18. They faced in the finals 3 years. Kerr went 2-1, 2-1 against Ty Lue. You really look at majority of the matchups, Ty Lue's outcoached them every time. Like he had the comments, we blitz Steph even with KD and Kyrie on the team. He's that dangerous. Like they kind of went with that last night when the Clippers beat the Golden State Warriors. And it's just like even in the most simplest thing, Steve Kerr just doesn't have an answer for the things that Ty Lue does. So like today I tweeted it out and I'm like, Ty Lue is to Steve Kerr what Kyrie Irving is to Steph Curry. If that makes sense.
I get what you're saying. I mean, obviously, we give Ty Lue his credit on how good of a coach he is. That's why we thought it was a good pickup for him for the Clippers when they decided to pick him up. So yeah, I think Ty Lue showed us that he's gonna make adjustments and he's a very good coach.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I remember there was a time when we looked at it's like the LeBron factor. When LeBron was in Miami, a lot of people were kind of coming at Eric Spoelstra's neck about how good of a coach he was. Like, he's not really that good. Like, look who he's got. And then, like, we saw how good of a coach he was. We didn't have any of that. There was a point in time where the Miami Heat had the worst record in the league. Second half of the season, they had the best record in the league, and they missed the playoffs literally the last game of the season. I forgot who they needed to win to get in. And from there on, it's been playoffs, NBA finals. He literally not literally invented, but he made positionless basketball prominent in the NBA. And it's like, all right, he is a really good coach. It's the same thing with Ty Lue. Like I'm old enough to remember when people were really going at Ty Lue, like he's just not a good coach. And we see, I even thought that he was scapegoated in that last year with Cleveland. I thought he was doing a good job of what he had that last year that he was in Cleveland. And since he's been with the Clippers, and Meach just said it, I wouldn't say they're in contention, but they're a dangerous team without their best player, because Paul George's not playing right now either. They're no Paul George, no Kawhi Leonard. They're scary. And I mean, that just goes to show you, just like, you got to stop disrespecting these dudes, especially once they get the chance to really prove it. Like he's proven, and I definitely expect him as time goes on, we're going to be talking about him as a guy that's up there as a coach.
Yeah, definitely. You saw he's able to do last year after Kawhi went down, getting them to their first conference finals, having them even being competitive in that conference finals with the Suns. So, like I said, he's shown us that he was a great coach. That's why no one I mean, Mike seems like he didn't like it, but most people liked it when they decided to get rid of Doc and bring Ty Lue in there. They thought that he'll bring something different. And I think he got a lot of credit for, like, obviously he coached LeBron, but I think he got a lot of credit for getting on LeBron and getting on those guys. So he's shown us that he could be a good coach.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, he's shown it. I guess I see Mike he's saying he meant the hot. I guess Mike, you got to clarify that. You're saying you weren't mad Doc got fired. You're mad he got fired and they replaced him with Ty. I mean, if that's the case, I don't know if I agree with that, just based on how I've always felt about Ty Lue as a head coach. I've always given him his respect. I just really feel like he was underrated those years in Cleveland, especially when you look at the stories that came out in hindsight. with just how he was with you know, you touched on how he was with those guys in that locker room, and then the championship story about, you know, LeBron is playing well and he's still challenging LeBron. This rookie coach in the NBA Finals is challenging LeBron James, and it ended up working out for him. So I mean, as you look at the deals that the Clippers made and the way that they're looking right now, then you get Kawhi Leonard back and Paul George. Man, they might mess around and win themselves a championship next year if everything works out. Listen to this too, because one of the biggest reasons why the whole Houston thing didn't work out with Russ and Harden was Russ and Harden actually wanted Ty Lue as the head coach. And once they didn't get that, everything fell apart. Russ wanted out, and then James Harden wanted out as well for the same exact reasons. If Kawhi Leonard didn't want Doc fired, Doc would still be the head coach of the Clippers today. If Kawhi Leonard didn't want Ty Lue as the head coach, Ty Lue wouldn't be the head coach of the Clippers right now.
Yep, that's how it goes in the league that we're in right now. Stars kind of get a say so on what goes on, so I'm not surprised. Like you said, like I said, he's gotten his credit so far for what he's done, and a lot of people like him. As I said, when he first got the job, no one kind of looked down on the Clippers and thought that it was a bad move. People thought it was time to move on from Doc, and Ty Lue was the best guy out there for it.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, you gotta clarify that. I mean, the guy's an NBA champion, and I really don't. Yes, he had the players, but like it wasn't no like he didn't win because of who he had. Like, go back and watch the games. Like, he did a damn good job coaching those teams.
Yeah. But that's the LeBron factor that we were just talking about. When you have LeBron, a lot of people are just going to say and chop it up to the talent. But I think right now he's showing you that he's a good coach, no matter who's out there. And last year during the playoffs, I think he showed that too.
Yeah, for sure. 100%, man. I think I'm actually pretty amped for what the Clippers are going to show moving forward. Lakers fans better be scared, man. I know it's kind of like a Giants Jets, or like, even I know some people try to say this isn't true, but like a Yankees Mets thing, like even when like the Clippers will be good, it'll still be a Lakers town. But you know, them Lakers fans gonna be salty if the Clippers get back and win a chip. Like they were showing that when in that first year with them guys together over there. Like they was definitely hating and all that. Like, I don't know what to expect if the Clippers come out. Like, they're about to get the new stadium in Inglewood too. I don't know what to expect if the Clippers mess around and win themselves a chip.
There'll still always be a Laker town, but like you said, it's kind of big brother, little brother thing.
Yeah, Mike, we did get more than one series though. We had what, 3 years or 4 years of it in Cleveland. Like I just even when they weren't winning, I thought he was doing a good job of it. I don't know. Mike got to come on one of these days and we can have this conversation for sure. I'm always down for a good debate.
Marketing, the notes.
For sure. Maybe go to Stephen A. route and all that. I ain't nobody getting kicked off the show though. That's all I got. That's all I got for this week. Kay, you got anything for him before we get out of here?
No, that's it for me.
All right, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, whenever you tune in, make sure you get those questions in. That was nice to see. It's been a minute since we got those. Yeah, great show, great week. No more football, man. I think we might get some football stories in next week, but it's kind of all NBA the rest of the way through, which we like because we're hoops guys over here. So with that being said, it's Rich, it's Kay, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.